When you said that you are surrounded by writers, you're in this creative pot talking about writing all the time, is that sometimes exhausting mentally?
Yeah. Yeah, and also the more specialized you become, the more alienating you become.
Yeah.
Like when I go back home to my friends in Toronto who, are not writers, I'll start talking and I'll be like, do they want to hear about this line break? Do they care that I've come up with like 4 great assonant words? Or like, man, I nailed this simile. Look at this image system I made. How boring is that to someone who doesn't want to hear about it? It can be, it's exhausting, but it's enriching. But like a lot of us, one of the things I'm working on right now is I have actually I've tied too much of my identity to being a writer.
Interesting.
And then when you go through fallow periods, which in 2019 I did, I went 9 months with 0 acceptances, and I was sending out work constantly. And it was very hard. Like I was like, I'm done. I've peaked. I'm the kind of writer who only gets published in lit journals sometimes, and that's the end of it for me. I am going to be the lower middle class of writers, accomplishment scale forever, and I'm done. And it was really, it was damaging because, art is subjective, and people, I can be writing things that are thoughtful, that are more advanced for me, but that don't resonate with someone else, and that's very legitimate. Mm-hmm. But when I tie it to who I am, which I still do, and I need to figure out a way to be like, well, what am I without my output? Mm-hmm. Especially when it's something that is so self-expressive, and it's a thing I value so much in myself, and it's actually an amalgamation of what others value in me, being smart, getting good grades, being innovative, being at times activisty. And I'm like, oh, these are all the things others value about me. So when I fail at that, I'm just like, what do I have? Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important to build up other things that you are not good at. Please play with things you're not good at. Do it so that when the thing that you're driving so hard for is for whatever reason stalled, which happens, you have somewhere to go that isn't a nightmare.
And your identity doesn't have to be your work. In fact, it's not really healthy if it is, because that's not the complete you.
No, and part of that is
more than that, right? You're so much more than what you do.
And it's a byproduct of like a capitalist system. We ask each other, what do you do?
Yes.
Not that interesting.
The first question we ask, instead of like, what are you about? Who are you really?
I asked someone at a party, I was like, so what do you love? What gets you excited? And they were like, your friends are weird, to the host. And I was like, I mean, I probably shouldn't have used what gets you excited, because I was like, uh-oh, accidentally sexual. Wasn't trying to be a creep, might have been anyway, very sorry. But yeah, I mean, when you ask people about stuff like that, they're almost a little wrong-footed. They're like, why? And that's fair. But
it also reflects a lack of reflection, that lack of self-reflection many of us do. We're so worried about our exterior that we're not looking at our interior life.
And so many of us have jobs that say nothing about us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was a server for many years, and at the same time I was running an arts nonprofit. I was an executive director, and I was the managing director of Canada's largest alternative literary festival. And at the same time I was serving, and the way people spoke to me when I was a server, as if they knew something about me. I actually once spilled a tray of drinks. I missed a step. And a father turned to his son and said, this is why you get a degree.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I have one. I was on the dean's list. Thank you. And I got in trouble, which is
really?
Yeah. But people our jobs don't have much to do with us. I've worked in the service industry for years, and like, what do you think you know about someone who's a server? Like, a lot of the smartest people I've ever worked with. Do you know what I mean? And I've actually had this weird experience of the more I get paid, the less work a job has been. And that's my own life. But the hardest I've ever worked was for the least amount of money. And it travels in an exact straight line up that spectrum.
Well, that's another thing that COVID has taught us, right? The essential workers are the cashiers and the postman and the truckers.
And also the doctors too. And
besides the doctors, and that's a given.
Sure, but there is an absolute disparity in our minds between those things.
Yeah, and they're the least paid, which is disgusting.
I could get into my anger about what service workers are being paid right now in COVID, with not very many precautions taken for them. I mean, there's a lot of like all good and well repeated rhetoric, but you talk to people and it's like, are you safe? And they're like, I'm like, well, and then we get mad at them when they get COVID. We're like, well, a worker at this store got COVID. How dare you put me at risk? And it's like, I don't know. That's maybe a grumpy rant. I'm full of them.
That's okay.
Just a little of that cute intellectual vulnerable anger. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's veer back to creativity. Back to you, Mary.
Well, I was wondering if women in your social circle are creative, your non-writing friends, or do they play? And if they don't, why don't they, do you think?
They are almost uniformly creative.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. There's more variety in do they play. That's very upsetting. I haven't really thought about that. A lot don't. I would say a lot don't. And a lot of that is because, a lot of us live in extremely expensive cities where we have to work multiple jobs to get by. And, some of us are parents and of young children who require a certain amount of energy. So they're playing with their kids, I guess. Mm-hmm. But fun is not often centered, I don't think. Mm-hmm. And it's like why when we get together and we do have fun, there's like a desperation for it. It's like you have to make it the most fun because who knows when you'll have it again.
Yeah,
It isn't. It isn't. I mean, what I have found is that a lot of us are very funny. Mm-hmm. I think to try to make things fun for people because we're like, the world is a real quagmire of dark, dark chaos, especially right now. And I suppose it always has been. So I think we try to make things funny for each other, and like we try to give each other these little moments of joy. Mm-hmm. And perhaps some of that is to allay the surges of darkness.
Underground there.
Yeah, no, I don't think we play as much though. But I don't know. Do men play? Is anyone playing right now? I mean, I'm not sure I know that.
Well, I think men have always found a way to play historically. I mean, and they do wrap it in the course of their professions. They go golfing and hammer out business deals, or they drink after work, or they play poker, or they always find a way to play.
I mean, I will say, if you wanted to torture me, you could put me on the golf course. So
that would be not a good place for me.
If that's playing, no thank you. But I know what you mean.
Play at it, but people might get injured.
Oh gosh, I think I would just get very frustrated at my inability to make contact with a ball, or for it to go. Golf is it is a skill thing. I know that, but you're right. It is sort of woven into a certain facet of their work at a certain level, for a certain class of man. That's all. There's a lot of intersections there too. Mm-hmm. When I say class, I mean tax bracket. I should make the distinction. I don't mean decorum. I mean, yeah. But I do like to play. You know what I like to do? I like to go bowling.
Bowling, you know what? I think so many people deny the fun of bowling because it's looked, I know, as some sort of 50s thing. It's embarrassing or whatever.
Well, the borrowed shoes.
The shoes are bad. That's the problem. The shoes
Yeah.
are horrible, and having to wear public shoes is even, ugh. Yuck.
It's time for a redesign.
Yuck. Yeah.
If anyone wants to do that during COVID.
Yeah, no, God. Squirt that hand sanitizer in.
Mary, what do you do for fun? What's been fun for you lately?
This, I love talking, which is interesting because I'm an introvert, but I love people and I love conversation. So I love film as well.
What is an exciting film right now for you?
I say that without, you know what, I'm actually watching, we're in that sort of golden era of TV actually over film. And I've been watching I May Destroy You.
I've heard that's amazing.
It is amazing. I think you really, really love it. It's about a writer. And it's semi-autobiographical, but it's so well done. It's very raw, it's very powerful. It's not necessarily entertainment in the sense of you want to escape from the grim reality of 2020, but it's very well done. Yeah. And actually that sort of goes into my other question about gender in the arts and where you see women these days in the arts and the particular issues that confront women.
I mean,
or is it just across the board, doesn't matter if you're male or female, it's all.
No, of course we're perceived differently, of course, but I just don't think that patriarchy is the greatest barrier. I mean, I'm very fortunate because I am, depending on your opinion of Jews, white or white passing, so I have a huge amount of privilege right there, huge amount. I am, so, you know, it is a barrier, but do I think it's the greatest barrier? No. But certainly I am, it's something I learned from TAing is there's a whole, you know, students give reviews and our professors always send around a thing of biases in TAing. And of course, women get typically rated lower and Black and brown and Asian people typically get rated lower, and certain ages get treated a little bit lower. And there's a great poem, I'm sort of veering away, but there is a difference. Just the way that we are considered less smart if we have things like or if we inflect this way. I could be talking about pretty much anything, but if I talk to you like this, you would think I was kind of stupid, which is insane. It's really wild. You know, Margaret Thatcher, who I'm in no way a fan of, had to take elocution lessons to lower her voice to be taken seriously. And we have so many unconscious biases, and even among women, I still have internalized femphobia I'm working out. You know, I thought that, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, I wanted to be different. I wanted to be taken seriously. And so I was like, pink is girly, doing my nails is stupid. And just today I was thinking about how I wished when I was younger that people had told me that makeup could be fun, could be artistic, instead of when I was like, well, why are you wearing makeup in 7th grade? Because I was like kind of interested, but I was like I was a very feminist little child without having the framework for that. And they were like, oh, it's so this hot boy will think I'm pretty. And I was like, well then fuck no, don't want it. And I spent all of my high school career not wearing makeup and wearing really baggy, ill-fitting clothes so that anyone who liked me for me, which is a weird way to take that. But I have internalized femphobia. There's nothing wrong with liking those things. It doesn't say anything about your character at all, except for that you like those things. So a lot of the barriers are societal and they're within ourselves. So people who are not, cis men, how can we expect them to have unworked all of their internalized misogyny and femphobia. We haven't. So of course that's going to be a factor.
Mm-hmm.
And it is annoying. And sometimes when I write a particularly smart email to, you know, an academic person, I have "Dear Mr. Kirsh" as the response. And I'm like, Mr. Kirsh is my father.
Mm-hmm. I read today on Twitter, it was a scream. It was some I guess super, I didn't know who she was, but a successful business woman, verified on Twitter, so of a certain stature. And she was saying how she was getting so much negative feedback about her marketing, in that, or access to her for publicity and PR and whatnot. So what she did was invent she created a separate email account and called the account holder Brian, and Brian was now her PA and was handling all the criticisms and complaints, and she never had any. So and I mean, doesn't that tell you everything? That if women are demanding or successful or not at your whim, they're difficult, they're hard to manage, or they're stuck up, or who do they think they are?
Mary, I have difficult on my medical file. I'm not kidding. I was very ill. Well, no, I wasn't very, I shouldn't forgive. I was sick for a large number of weeks, and I was throwing up a lot, and I went into a doctor's, and I'd been going to this walk-in clinic because it's hard to find a family doctor in Vancouver. And I'd been going in a couple times a week for months. And I had this one doctor here in Vancouver, and I asked for a food sensitivity test or a food allergy test because I was like, maybe it's that. I have some food reactions that are similar. And he said no. And I said, well, why not? And he goes, yeah, I can't just give out tests to every woman who asks for one. And I was like, but this mirrors some of my other food things. And he said, listen, he said, direct quote, I am the guardian of the resources, and I can't just give out tests to everyone who asks for them, but I'll give you a celiac test. And I was like, I'm not a celiac. I know for a fact that I am not a celiac. I eat a ton of bread. It's not a problem. And I always have. And he was like, no, well, you can take this test or you can take nothing.
Oh my God.
And so I took the test, and guess what? I'm not a celiac. Mary, it took me 17 years to get an endometriosis diagnosis. And you know why I eventually got into the women's health clinic? I went to a different doctor after being like, hey, and doctors were like, no, it's normal to have cramps. And I was like, not like this. It's not normal to have to be taking 12 to 15 extra strength Advils a day or you're not standing. It's not right. But female pain is normalized, and also we're looked at as delicate and, not, exaggerating and, weak. And it's worse if there's all kinds of literature. Again, I'm a white woman and I have it pretty good. It's worse if you're a racialized woman.
Absolutely.
But I eventually went into this doctor's office and I came in hot. I said, listen, I need a what's it called? Oh shoot, I've lost the word. Referral. I need a referral to the women's health, to the pelvic pain clinic. You're going to write me one and you're going to advocate for me. And I don't know if it's a lack of resources or diagnostic bias, but no one is doing this, so it's going to be you. And I went in that tone of voice, like not super nice. And the guy was like, okay. I was like, okay, sorry. But I don't think I would have gotten a referral if I hadn't gone in angry. Yeah. And as it is, difficult is still on my medical file from before that. But this to say, of course it's different for women than it is for cis men in the arts, in everything, because there are centuries and millennia of unconscious bias that have been built in this way. we are talking about it a ton. And so being aware that there is a bias is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly the way that I got spoken to while I was in a position of authority versus the way that a man who has also answered some of those questions, it was very different. And people think I am, there are a lot of people who think that I'm mean. Which, like, maybe I am. I don't know. It's possible.
Just standing up for yourself. You need boundaries, right? And I think women are afraid of establishing their own boundaries because we're meant to serve others and we're meant to care for others, and we're not supposed to have any boundaries.
Well, we're punished for it.
Yeah.
We're punished for setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And we're not really believed about things when our boundaries are crossed.
Exactly.
So yeah, we have ways to go. Is it rude if I eat an orange on camera?
No, it's not. You can chew on this, because when we talked about your creative process, what we did miss, and I've been asking everyone in this interview series this very basic question, which I find fascinating, is what does your creative space look like, and when are you the most creative? Are you a day person, a morning person, an afternoon person, a middle of the night person?
My creative space looks like this. I used to like writing not at home, because when I'm at home, there's so many things you can get wrapped up in, or it's so easy to be distracted. At home, if I suddenly procrastinate by turning on The Office, I'm not disturbing anyone else in the room. Just me and Tyler and Zizi, the cat. Whereas I'm sort of forced by social mores to not play Netflix out loud on my laptop in public spaces. So that's also part of why I haven't been writing during the pandemic, is I do find it hard to write at home. And I need to be somewhere that is comfortable, that has good kind of snacks. I don't need to be, but ideally I'm somewhere like this, and that isn't too interesting looking that I can be distracted. I need something kind of mundane, so that basically I have ADHD and I do need to sort of outfox myself into doing things. I used to be a middle of the night writer when I was in high school. That was when I did my best writing. And now that I am in my mid-20s, there was a shift, and now I write best during the day and the afternoon. But after dinner, good luck.
Yeah. Interesting how you shifted. And do you know what prompted that shift, or was it just a function really of age and where you were at then?
I couldn't say comfortably for sure. I mean, I of course had much less responsibility in high school. I mean, I was a student and I had like a part-time job, and that was it. Whereas, now I have some more responsibilities, but I don't know. I don't know if it's that. Honestly, I think it's very cool when you're a teenager and very rebellious to be out late. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my dad always quotes this to me. He thinks it's so cute. I don't know if it's particularly cute, but I was like, Dad, I wish it could be morning all the time. And then when I was a teenager, I was like, I'm sleeping till 1. I'm staying out late. I'm walking these dangerous Toronto streets. So I was such an angsty little. And now I think I think hopefully I've gotten over myself a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I like daytime.
Yeah.
I like when it's bright. I like when it's sunny. I like having a little coffee or tea when I work. It's nice.
Yeah.
I just like it.
And it makes better sense, quite frankly, and for your well-being.
Yeah, sleep is important. Who knew that?
Your sleep, yeah.
Yeah, my parents were right. Oh no.
What about the editing process? Do you need a different space and a different time for that, or can you do it at the same time? Can you morph from one activity to the other? No problem.
Effectively, I mean, often with editing, you're going to be, when I edit usually immediately after I've written something, I go over it a few more times. And then to make it really good, I have to revisit it once some time has passed so I can see the actual weaknesses. Mm. But, you know, I want to rush the process. I'm very impatient. I want what I want now. To quote Courtney Love, I want to be the girl with the most cake. I just do. And I'm like, I want it all now. And that's a fun thing about being a writer is you have to sometimes wait 10 months for a response from a journal. So you have to be patient. You are forced to be patient and to get over your crap. Excuse me, I burped. But yeah, I can edit. I actually have come to like editing almost more than I like writing.
Well, at least you have something on the page. I think that helps, you know, because a lot of the angst, in my experience, is the blank page and getting started, as you said. But once you have something to work with, then that's the fun can still happen just in fixing it and improving it.
And I used to be, when I was at, and I think it's, forgive me, I hope this isn't too judgmental. It's a more sophomoric stance that I used to hold, the Jack Kerouac school of first draft, best draft. Or is it first thought, best thought? I'm not sure exactly what the quote is. I think that's kind of wishful thinking. Mm. And, you know, maybe there are people for whom that's true. But I used to do that sort of as an excuse to let myself off the hook from doing the work. Mm. So much of being a writer has been like, okay, do the work. You think you're doing the work? My friend is like submitting 100 times a year. I'm not doing the work. You don't want to edit? And you're like, why is no one taking my first draft? Your first draft might mean so much to you as a writer, but what means something to you as a writer is not necessarily the thing that's going to sing to a reader. Mm-hmm. You know, if you are going to offer something to people, make it worth their time. Time is so, what do we have that's more valuable than time? Mm-hmm. Cauliflower in Vancouver, God, it's expensive. But like, you have to, I want to honor people's time. So much of my impulse for writing came from more of a selfish place of wanting to honor myself and to express myself. But if you're going to put it out in the world, I think for me, I want it to be something that not just expresses who I am, but that expresses who I am in a way that can be comforting or identify with someone else. Mm. Because otherwise, why not just do it for you? And there are poems I have just for me. I'm not saying don't write for you, write for you. But that's something that, I don't know, I just want to give people something at this point.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Thanks.
Well, so thank you so much for doing this. This has been so much fun.
It has been fun.
We covered so much interesting territory.
I'm very sorry if I jumped around a lot.
That's okay. I do the same. So it's all good. And it's fun, more importantly, and helpful.
It is nice. I hope I've said something that someone finds useful. Yeah, I don't know. Make art, have fun.